vitality of our systems. And there are those who live directly off of that energy and have, tapped into the methodology through meditation, qigong practice, lots of different ways of receiving the necessary energy vitality from other than food and in some cases even water, which is quite fascinating when you think about the implications of that relative to the science here that is in the theory. Is that anything that you have considered researching?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because actually, Nassim has a very particular interest in breath breatharianism. Because he when he was living in the van and
Yeah.
doing his advanced physics research, kind of formulating the first unified solutions to physics. During that time period, uh, he wasn't eating food. He
For
went
like
like,
5 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've seen pictures of him from that time, and he was very skinny. So
Yeah.
I mean, I do not doubt at all when he says. I don't think he's exaggerating at all when he says he wasn't eating food. So it just for him, he knows that this is a real phenomenon. He lived like that. That you can draw energy from the space memory network. From if you're thinking of it from the Eastern philosophical tradition. From the pranic field.
Mhm.
Um, and so, uh, it's a particular research interest of ours because, okay, what is happening physically when that's being done? So i.e., what is the scientific explanation for this process? And actually, we think we have identified what's happening and where it's happening in the body, at the physical level, physical energetic level. Um, and it involves the mitochondria. So
Right.
um, when you're looking at the uh, anatomy of the mitochondria, so the mitochondria are a subcellular organelle within every cell of the body. And the number of different things the mitochondria do, it's a long list. It's best known perhaps though as the energy producing organelle of the cell. So
Mhm.
it's generating the adenosine triphosphate ATP, which carries these high energy electronic bonds. Um, Now, at the site of the production of that ATP molecule, there's some very interesting physics going on. So you have this nanomachine, the ATP synthase, which is this huge macromolecular machine assembly. It's embedded in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. So the mitochondria have a double membrane structure, and the inner membrane is folded just like the sulci and gyri of the cortex of the brain. I don't think that's coincidental either, because in addition to being one of the energy producers of the cell, the mitochondria does function as the brain to a large extent. It coordinates myriad cell signaling cascades, orchestrating cellular behavior. And actually, some of the highest concentration of mitochondria in your body occur at the synapse of the neuron. Um, I know I was just amazed one time looking at electron micrographs of brain sections where you can see the synapse of a neuron and it's just packed full of mitochondria. And I just remember thinking, I don't think that's coincidental. But it's just this like wonderful fractal structure because, if you look at that brain section, it's a sulci and gyrus, highly folded membrane type structure of the brain. Then you go inside at the molecular level, the macromolecular level, and it's this highly folded inner membrane structure of the mitochondria. Um, but so in that inner membrane, there's the ATP synthase. Now, yes, so some of the very interesting, let's say, physics occurring there is that ATP synthase is spinning. It's spinning extremely fast. It's actually been clocked at about 8,500 revolutions per minute. Now, for comparison, a jet engine spins at about 10,000 RPM. So it's almost as fast as a turbine on the jet engine. Uh, Now, immediately, that's pretty interesting to us because of the role that spin plays in physics processes. Um, and so you have that spin, and what it's doing is it's pumping a proton plasma across the membrane. So now you've got these two elements that are coming together that are very interesting to us. You have a spinning plasma.
Wow.
Now one of the devices that Nassim is building, for instance, to couple to the vacuum structure, pull energy from it, or even to modulate the geometry of the vacuum structure of space, is a spinning plasma. And lo and behold, there's myriad of these apparatuses inside every mitochondria, inside of every cell in the human body. And so, very simply, our hypothesis on this, our thought process on this is that, okay, you've got this proton plasma that's being spun by, this spinning nanomachine. And it's actually also coupled to superconducting electrons. So along that inner membrane, there's electrons that are being conducted, superconduction. Um, and so, this is a prime area where your energy apparatus of your cell could be coupling to the vacuum. And we believe it is coupled to the vacuum. And so this provides not only an avenue for the exchange of information with the unified field, because the mitochondria and the ATP that's generated is intricately involved in cellular communication, intercellular and intra and intercellular communication. So this link for the information flow from the space memory network, the unified field, into the cell, into your body. Um, but as well, a potential source to tap energy that you're not getting from food metabolism. And so, we could almost, you could almost imagine that if, you're getting that system into a high enough coherent state that it's starting to match the coherence level of the vacuum oscillations, you can have a very efficient transfer of energy and information. And that energy is producing ATP that feeds your cells, that drives your cells, and nourishes your body without eating food. So, we not only believe that, it's possible, but we believe we've identified where and how it's happening. And, the step now is to, okay, let's write the mathematics for it. Let's do experiments to show that that is in fact what is occurring, and that's kind of the step we're on now.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I was listening very enthusiastically to the details of your research about the person who is a Dzogchen trained meditator that has emitted photons during your research. And I just want to refer to breatharianisms like being tenfold or hundredfold times a Dzogchen meditator experience and expertise. Because then you don't only calm your mind, but you also feed yourself during that meditation. So it would be interesting to research what happens at the photonic level with such a person. What kind of light does it emit in a room? You know.
Yeah, I that could be a really excellent way to observe and quantify this kind of effect, because I have little doubt that you would see in an experienced breatharianism practitioner like probably several fold increase in the amount of photons being emitted by the body.
Yeah.
And that kind of links with the esoteric teachings of the light body, which is actually pretty literal. The
I was
literal light
exactly
body.
thinking of that because the Dzogchen practice eventually leads to the rainbow body, which is the body of light in the Tibetan tradition, which is so the main thing above and beyond the meditation that they do is to hold only positive, uplifting thoughts for several years, not having one negative thought, in order to heighten the frequency of the physical cells so that they reach a frequency where they can be malleable, where they can disappear, reappear, be absorbed into a very small body, or only leave the hair and nails, as some masters do when they attain the rainbow body and decide to leave the earth. But that's one attribute of the rainbow body, when you want to leave the earth and you just leave your nails behind. But what if you want to stay on the earth and be here without using external resources? And eventually dematerialize, rematerialize, teleport, duplicate, whatever you want to do with your vessel, That would be interesting to research, because I have colleagues who are doing this and I've noticed them doing it. So some of them have offered to actually participate in these studies. That would be astonishing for humanity to actually observe what's possible with a human body. I have colleagues who have been tested in pranic festivals. They were monitored while sleeping and while meditating. Their weight would decrease or increase, like visibly on the machineries, while they were modifying their mind state, which is to show that your physical vessel is actually malleable, even in terms of weight, when you modify your state of mind. Imagine if you researched further at what happens at the photons level, what happens at the calories level, maybe what happens at the exchange with other environments, like monitoring a breatharian people and a person who's not breatharian. What happens in the DNA of the other person who's in the room with a breatharian, to then notice what kind of influence a breatharian has on masses of people, how they can uplift maybe hundreds of people while being in a room. We have felt it, in pranic festivals, but what if we even research it on machinery to actually monitor it correctly?
Yeah, I'd love to see that happen. It sounds that's really interesting to hear, William, that you guys are actually giving it so much thought already, with a foundation for the theory of where that may be taking place and how that would actually be working in the physics of the body, the cells, the mitochondria interaction with the field. So that is really, really exciting, really cool. So it sounds like a good prospect for that to happen.
Work, you guys, and the way, William, you look at this and the way Nassim's approaching this, is groundbreaking, and you're of so much help for the evolution of humanity only by understanding this, not to mention researching it. So I'm really grateful. I'm really honored to meet you and have this chat with you on this topic.
Oh,
I
thank
wish
you.
more scientists were open to this.
Thank you, Christiana. Yeah, because I just think that it's one of those things that if we can provide good, solid physical explanations for it, makes it accessible to more people. And uh, I just think that you know having it so that more individuals can experience and access this state of being is pretty important for humanity, in general, to kind of advance here. So, I think it's part of a bigger picture, even.
I think it also is
A much
relevant
bigger
to,
picture. Imagine if we eventually realize that we have free energy in our human body and that we can master it, and it's scientifically proven, then it's a piece of cake to have free energy fueled vehicles. Because so far, our science has only replicated what our body can do.
Yeah.
Once we fully understand that we can do free energy in our body, we'll have free energy on the planet in a blink of an eye. But our consciousness needs to shift to believe that in order to materialize it in the real world, right? That's the step necessary for us now, to move into free energy, to understand that we have that in our body. At
I
least
think
that's
it's
what I
also
believe.
very relevant to the bigger picture of our evolution out into the galactic community, because as much as we have a good test subject of tomatoes that last a long time, we still would have to eat them and then replace them somewhere out in space. So ultimately it does seem like in order to really expand out, we need to understand that we can access the field in ways that will potentially in a larger context, transcend that dependency we have on the nutrition source, as we have been kind of indoctrinated into thinking is the only way, which is not necessarily the case. So, yeah. Well, great question, Cristiana. Thanks for bringing that in. And I'm just really, really excited to hear that there's so much thought going into this already.
And
Thank
I
you so
just
much. We've been having chat. Go ahead. We've been having chats with William for quite a while, and I've managed to compile some of this in a book called the Pranic World Book, where the scientific research that I've discovered so far is all put together there so that people can actually read about it. And please go ahead, William. Sorry to interrupt.
no. Thank you for sharing that. I hope we can see that book before too long. I was just going. I just noticed there are some comments where I saw a little bit of confusion on the term plasma. I just wanted to clarify real quick, and it is confusing on how this term is used because in physics, plasma is a fourth state of matter, really fifth state of matter, but in biology, and particularly when you're talking about the body, plasma is often used to talk about like blood plasma, which is different than plasma you have in physics. So plasma in that biological context is oftentimes just referring to the fluid intermediary, the basically the interstitial water that has all the dissolved nutrients and everything inside of it. Now, when I was talking about plasma, spinning plasma in the mitochondria, I wasn't talking about blood plasma, not the like biological kind of fluid plasma, more the physics kind of plasma, the free protons. That's what it is. It's free protons because one of the things that your body's doing, your cells are doing inside that mitochondria is subatomic engineering. It's rearranging matter at the subatomic level. it'll take in water and air, and it will separate the oxygen and the carbon and the electrons and the protons, and it does alchemy with that to generate your energy and even cellular communication and those kind of things. So not blood plasma, the physics kind of plasma.
Yeah.
Thank you
Great.
for that.
Thank you, Cristiana. Good to see you.
Great to see you all.
You
Happy holidays and much love to all.
Thank you.
too.
See you at the solstice.